favoring Empire. We'll see if that holds itself to be true, as the Soniqs have had quite a few surprises up their sleeve so far in this tournament, and are going to look to carry them forward even more here if they can take out already the best from APAC, and now looking to take out the best from Europe as well. The bans are on the table, and the first one aligning pretty well with what we have seen traditionally in the past. Nomad getting knocked out to enable a bit more anti-roam mischief, or rather roaming mischief for Empire here, as they'll be on the defensive side. Starting to follow that one up, a Habana ban, as she once again has quite a bit of usefulness, specifically against those Hookah billiard takes against the long wall. Smoke, interestingly enough, is going to be banned out next by the Soniqs. That's a bit of a curveball there. Makes perfect sense due to the proclivity of Smoke inside of the meta. However, we see it very, very rarely.
Absolutely the case, my friend. And Valkyrie, speaking of things that happen rarely, this one not so much. Valkyrie will be removed. She has been our most banned operator here at SI this time around, with how influential her info game can be. So this is going to be our banned class here for Coastline. Obviously, Smoke being the biggest one here that could have some very interesting things happening inside of the round now due to that. Won't have as much denial for the defensive end. So obviously, Empire will be starting things off on defense here, and it looks like we'll be going towards Hookah billiards to start us off.
So an upstairs hold for our defenders here. Empire not going to throw any surprises at us for their initial picks. We'll see if there's going to be anything in the 6-pick department, though. Doesn't look like it. And the same can be said for the most part for our attackers. Wrexham will be bringing the Twitch in. We will see a second switch up there for Yeti going over to the line. Interesting that we see Yeti going on to that. Normally that's a role that we've seen Super take up in the past, but it seems like they're going to switch it here and put that onto Yeti instead here. Yeti, once again, another player that we've often seen take up the entry role, so probably not necessarily going to be the case this time, since they'll need that support for the late round execute. Away from that, of course, Super will be acting as the support here and providing any hard breach if it'll be necessary over the course of this round.
I'll be using the Ace instead of the Habana. Obviously, Habana banned out. They still need some ranged hard breach if they so choose. It's just better when it comes to Coastline, as you can get a hold of things like the quad wall here at the back end of billiards and things along those lines. So we'll see what the Soniqs want to try and break up here. Obviously, Empire will have some denial in the likes of Shepard, but since the mute jammers did get nerfed recently, they don't reach towards the top of those reinforcements any longer, so he'll more than likely be able to pick those up without any assistance from his team.
Super straightforward setup from Empire here as well, just in terms of how they're laying out the site. The usual reinforcements on either side of the interior Hookah doorway. We're going to have the Malusis blocking off the usual rotation point there, or not the Malusis, excuse me, the laser gates coming in from Scyther rather to block off the rotation point. We will still have the Banshees in play from the Malusi though, from always, but they'll also be in a fairly expected position here. So Sonic should know exactly how to approach this. Let's see if they can execute upon it, though, as we're going to see a lot of firepower brought from Empire, but Yeti outwits it, as he indeed gets that opening kill of the round against Joystick, knocking out the Mozzie.
Huge pickup in the 417 as well here for Yeti, one that we see quite often when it comes to Lion play on this map. We've been seeing the V308 work its way in for a handful of professional players, but this time around going to be sticking with the DMR and its stopping power. Dan now looking for the drone underneath.
Didn't get it.
Hookah couch here, but not able to finally, well, we'll finally be able to secure it after trailing it there for just a little bit, but it's kind of a slow start here for the Soniqs, just simply working their way around. Hookah don't need to go too far, as they already got that initial pick, so they'll be able to work the info game for a while, especially as Yeti can just keep things lined up here, and if they keep setting them up, he'll keep knocking them down.
Empire is continuously walking into these fights and losing players as a result of it. Finally, someone is able to pick up a response here, as always, over here towards the VIP area, possibly swing out towards the balcony, catching a player near the rappel. That's going to lead to the elimination of Grixer. A big loss for the Soniqs, though, keeping in mind the premise or the promising results we've seen out of not only him, but other members of this team like Rexon over the results earlier in the tournament, specifically against Dom 1. Rexon, though, still might be able to assist here with the F2 in hand. A very popular, very comfortable gun for our front-forward fraggers, and will be no exception here for him. But Shepard as well, able to respond and knock out not only Kansan, but with always stepping up to the plate. He'll find Rexon too. Things suddenly turning for the worse here as the Soniqs fall behind into a 2v3. Still with a little over a minute to play, but they're going to have to make their forward push in with only Yeti with a DMR and Super to assist.
It's a huge problem now for the Soniqs, but now luckily enough, Super will be able to take down Scyther. Yeti looking for one out here on the billiards double, but not able to find anything just yet. Don't have any serious insight as to where these players are. We'll be able to get rid of the Banshee here, but with 45 seconds, it can take their time. Luckily enough, on top of that, Yeti still has one EE1D that he can use to try and keep these players still and try and influence this next engagement. Super with the cross here for the Hookah space. Shepard as well as Empire just in general playing this very close to the chest. They do not want to give up another frag here, especially after they were able to equalize. Yeti seemingly aware of where the player is on vibes now as he continues to push himself forward, but with the lower angle now open, Super will be able to hold these feet, won't be able to tag up the player, and oh no, Yeti loses out the fight. It's a triple for always as Empire looks to shut down this round.
That's the downside of the DMR there. A little bit hard to hit him in those clutch scenarios, so Yeti finally falters after having a relatively good round aside from that, to be completely fair to him. And then, of course, the pump from the M590 quickly shuts down the last member of the team. A promising start to the round for the Soniqs, but once they get themselves into the building, it reignites the fire for Empire. They're allowed to trade those kills back and put those two remaining members of the Soniqs in a nearly unwinnable situation despite their best efforts. It's 1-0 for Empire as they lock down the upstairs site and head into the kitchen for round number 2.
Yes, indeed. Some strong fights early for Yeti, but they were practically gifted to him inside of Sunrise. Past that, Empire taking the fight to a lot of the outside players, especially the player, the big one, on the big billiards window that they were able to secure and make things just very complicated for Soniqs when it came down to it. Unfortunately enough for the Soniqs, just not enough firepower to secure that round. So we'll move forward now as Empire secure their very first defensive round, and Dan will be bringing Oryx along for the ride.
Works, of course, going to obviously boost the roaming capability a bit here for both Dan and the rest of Empire. He can jump up either through the office hatch or any one of them strewn across the map here to be able to reignite, boost that second floor capability here and maybe act as a bit of a surprise rotation against the members of the Soniqs. They're experienced though, so they should see it coming, or at least expect it at any point in the round here, so they'll need to keep players on overwatch for that if they're going to try and assault from the top-down angles, which they certainly might try to do here. A sledge in play for Kansas, so they're going to be looking to get access to the areas shown on your screen right now here around the circle, that circle couch, and then be able to slam open all of that wood flooring to be able to chuck the grenades down, flush a couple players out of their in-sight positions, assuming there are going to be any. We have seen, of course, most of our teams in the recent meta playing it much more off the site, much more kind of across the courtyard over towards the front lobby and security areas, so it's not as much of an assured victory as it has been in the past.
Ever since they made the adjustment to the windows in the center courtyard, things have gotten a whole heck of a lot easier to play this top floor, especially if you just barricade the windows. You can rotate around the VIP space as well as playing billiards, and that's exactly what Empire is going to do. They've extended out towards the Hookah side here with some reinforcements to assist the Vase player. Also have the reinforcements set up in VIP with a couple inside of Theater just to be able to hold onto the cross here for Penthouse. Extremely important area to hold on to when you are indeed playing Kitchen, simply to deny that verticality that Kansas will try and, well, exert on towards the defense. Scyther, as of right now, will be holding on to this Vase position, seemingly awaiting any Soniqs members as there are two outside. A drone will find him now as I do believe that's a Twitch drone of Rexon. Scyther will be able to hop to, though, as he'll rotate over towards Aqua and drop down the hatch into office.
And waiting for an opportunity if the Soniqs go for an entry over towards the master area. Not going to see too much action from our attackers in that department of the map just yet, however, so for the time being, the position he holds won't be able to accomplish too much. However, thankfully for them, the Soniqs themselves aren't accomplishing too much here either, as they're still spending a lot of time on their drones here, trying to figure out what they might have to watch out for when they make the initial entries, but we will start to see that come in soon. Always now going to get spotted inside of Theater. They'll realize this is a much harder lock setup, and still, at least one member of the team, Kansan, is going to oblige against that here. Chucks the nade forward. Not a lot of support for this extended position that Always is currently maintaining. So he is going to take some heat from that nade, but it's way off the mark. So only about 20% of his HP getting bled away. And now Always will strike first here, taking down Kansan for the first kill of the round.
Still holding things down, EE1D out, but no pressure onto Always through the door. Continually holding on to this, but finally Rexon will stand tall as he takes down two. Dan and Always to fall here as Soniqs take the man advantage. Low time, though, they need to get to the verticality part of the game and start clearing things out, seeing if they can apply pressure towards these site players. I believe the last EE1D, and yes, indeed, out from Yeti, with Joystick now in a pretty precarious position. Here over inside of Towels. Holding on to this for a time, seeing if he can possibly rotate out and find himself some Soniqs members as Shepard gets drawn out in sight. Not very much time for Soniqs to get much done.
Bricks are continuing to sneak forward here to try and see if he can get an angle against the kitchen window with only 15 seconds left. This is a alarmingly calm push from the Soniqs right now, as they're still going to try to get themselves in position to swing out over here into barrels. Yeti with a good first entry for the team here as they get close to the site, but the immediate response is there's going to be a sea of blue on the kill feed here as no one can get into the site, and Grixer is just left wondering what to do as he can only find one singular trade. And again, things will end out on the null timer as we see Empire pick up a second consecutive round.
It's very slow rolling from the Soniqs as they try and gather info on that top floor, just not able to secure it in a timely manner that made it easy to actually get towards execution. So unfortunate for the Soniqs squad here as Empire will go up 2 rounds on their defensive side already. A clean 2-0, clean slate right now for the Soniqs. So they'll look to try and fix that here coming in towards the double bar.
So another shift for the boys hailing from Russia. Soniqs still yet to be able to do any serious damage to them here in terms of their round count. A possible perfect run through the sites is on the docket for Empire. That's not, of course, considering the fact that they could still rotate over towards Penthouse if they should so like. Haven't necessarily seen them going for that on the other maps, however, so good possibility they might just go directly back over towards Hookah, as it will be unlocked for round 4 regardless of the outcome of this one here. Double bars, though, still going to involve the Hookah and billiards area quite a bit, as they'll need to extend up towards it, reinforce it probably a little bit, and try to waste some time there so that Soniqs won't have all the available 3 minutes to try and suss out the interior site positions of Empire. You can even see they're going to try to play this out a little bit towards Kitchen 2 to prevent a cutoff from being established at the bottom of Cool Vibes.
Some extra info coming in from Shepard and his evil eyes as well, just to see what's going on inside of Blue Bar. Obviously, they'll knock down the wall towards the east side as well, just like we're always accustomed to seeing. Not too much of a top hold going into this one. No dedicated utility. As Shepard will get shot in the ankle here from Scyther, but apparently not needing that too much, especially after Dan takes down Yeti. This is a huge pickup. The Lion going down this early with no utility usage, no EU1Ds now to influence their map control. That would hopefully assist them in picking off a few of these Empire members.
Our first round started out so promising for the Soniqs, but ever since then it's been arduous here as they try to work for any type of control they can find, both in the kill and map control department. Just nothing really connecting here, especially back on round number 2. Down a player, that's not the end of the world, however, for the Soniqs, as they're still going to look to try and make things up as Dan lines up another fight for himself, but only able to connect a shot or two, it looks like, against Rex in there, who takes the duel from the other side. Dan will still hold a confident position inside of the bathrooms, however, despite that, going to rotate himself away closer to the site, as we're now a minute into it. And of course, his teammates will have called that there's a little bit of a breach going on over here towards the pool door that they might want to start paying attention to.
Empire will break that up, make it to where you cannot traverse through that rotation. So we'll be able to hold on to this as well as just the Towels door in general, making things a little bit more complicated for the Soniqs to look for their sunrise plant that they've normally been going for on this double bar. Dan will continue to hold out the kitchen space here as eventually Soniqs have to rotate back and see exactly what's going on in this area. Rexon will establish the cutoff here for the kitchen window, but seemingly no one ready. They've already gotten their pick. They don't need to worry about this all too much. Drone out, and he'll just pre-fire and double back instead. Empire want to try and waste as much time as possible in this situation and get Soniqs down to a low time, force them into an execute that they don't necessarily want, especially given the man advantage.
Time continuing to bleed out here, and again, no follow-ups from the Soniqs. Not even a lot of drone work coming back in over here towards the pool there. They're hoping that someone from Empire makes a mistake, but never mind. They're going to be on point with their own gun usage here as they're able to isolate out Grixer, take him down. There is a nade thrown out, of course, against Shepard, but only knocks out about half of his overall HP, so he's still going to hold a confident position behind the bar inside of Sunrise to continue wasting the time of the Soniqs. And now down 2 players, still with no interior positioning to play off of, let alone top-down angles, as they still have the sledge in play, but now no longer any time to try and knock out all those floorboards. They'll have to force their way in. Kansan actually being given a lot of real estate here as he creeps forward. No one on Empire obliging to peek against that. Kansan's going to be able to waltz right in. Shepard doesn't even realize it, so Kansan gets away with one for free. But again, just like the past 2 rounds, the trades are immediate. Super's left alone in what was a 1v4, made it a 1v3, but he's got less than 10 seconds left now, and the cutoff will finally be established from Always to shut him down. 3 in a row for the Russians.
Nicely done from M.
Now they're going to start repeating the sites, of course, starting it out with Hookah Billiards.
We'll see what they can possibly muster. Hopefully it's something out of Yeti here. And yes, it's going to be the switch up from the Lion to the Yana. Not the biggest deal at the end of the day. Still would have liked to see the Lion, but Yana still a very strong operator at the end of the day. Just not feeling like Lion is really getting enough out of this for them. So hopefully the Yana will with her ARX. So for Empire, as John said, they're back up towards Hookah. They'll begin setting up the site here, but it's looking pretty rudimentary at the end of the day. Very similar to what we were seeing prior. Bulletproofs around the space to get some extra insight as to when this plant is going to go down. Shoot out the default plant spot so they can play that down low. And also some Banshees around the area as well, just to slow down Soniqs on the entry. As for the Soniqs, you want to see them get a little bit more aggressive in this early round. You want to see them gather some map control, especially looking for these picks. If you guys remember on a Hookah Billiards, the last time Soniqs were able to get 2 big picks out of Yeti downstairs inside of Sunrise, but past that, they really weren't able to hold on to that control. Empire taking the fight to them in a lot of different ways, especially for the big double window inside of Billiards.
That's mainly, again, because of the immediate adjustment we saw from Empire, just cooling their players off, letting Soniqs make that first step into the crosshairs of Empire instead of the other way around. And of course, now allowing for Empire to control the large majority of opening picks since that round itself. Always, of course, taking out Kansan in round 2, and then the last round, Dan knocking out Yeti. Soniqs have not been able to get the right foot forward here ever since that start, and hopefully the pause has given them what they need now to be able to course correct, like I was saying before. Already seeing some players going to start to work their way in from down below. Joystick's going to pre-pop the Sunrise window just in case he has a possibility of leaping out there for some action later on into the round. Remember, of course, we're back on the upstairs site. This is kind of free positioning for him to play into now. But at the same time, the Soniqs may still want to swing in and take it for themselves at some later point in this round here to try and prevent that action from the player down below here.
Well, now for the Soniqs, some time here as they've gathered control of Hookah Balcony to start us off. Drones in to see exactly what's going on inside of the vase space. Do have a member of the Soniqs going down low towards Sunrise as of right now as well, but it's like rush in here, but it's only Yeti's Gemini to be able to clear out the laser gate from Scyther. Joystick's still holding on to this space down low here. He'll open up some windows and just try to be a nuisance, try and get Soniqs to focus on him and waste some more time. So we're about halfway through this round. Empire simply sitting still in the moment. Don't have too much to do as it's the utility handling the Soniqs currently, and Impact out will handle the Selma and continually help Dan to play this space. Does he have another one? He does indeed, and that'll get rid of yet another Selma. Super more than likely going to toss down his last, and yes, he will indeed.
Finally, that's going to bleed out the count, but now we can start to see some more aggressive swings come in from Empires. They've read into this setup from the Soniqs quite nicely. Kansan, the first to fall this time. And as we were just discussing, now all of the hard breach utility used, yeah, it's finally burnt out Dan's position. I do believe it is anyway. I didn't hear the follow-up explosion.
Actually, they ended up getting it. It got destroyed.
Did they really?
So, yeah, so both of these are actually still solid.
That's so unfortunate here, and this is what I was hoping to see, is Grixer or someone else taking up position to punish that impact play, but finally it shows up. Unfortunately, they don't have a good capability to now work their way forward as someone else from Empire can just take up that player's position. But a 1-for-1 exchange is at least found. Grixer just challenges through the laser gate, eats all that damage, and always will oblige, ready to take the duel himself, taking out Grixer, and again, leaving the Soniqs with a disadvantaged player count. However, Rexon is quickly going to try to make up for that, but he'll have to do it alone as Joystick finds the exchange against Super, leaving Rexon on an island here in a 1v3. Multiple angles to contend against as he tries to go for this swing on the 90 corner as well, so it's so tough no matter which way he plays it. To be fair, though, Empire going to give him a lot of room to swing out towards, but he has no time. Didn't leave himself enough to be able to run out, grab the case, and throw it onto the ground, so he decides to try and gun duel this one, and he will get one more, but that is it. Empire with 4 in a row as they continuously shut down all these attacks from the North Americans.
Well, Coastline has been one of our most offensive-sided maps here at SI, but Soniqs simply cannot buy around if they wanted to. Empire, time and time again, shutting down their strategy in a bunch of different ways. All 3 Selma charges out of the Soniqs being utilized on that base position, and they still can't get it. And past that, Empire able to find body after body to maintain that man advantage. It's nigh impossible for the Soniqs in the moment, and obviously no more tack timeout to be able to influence this. They have to continue on as just the bench as Joe Bro watches on in horror. Now for Empire, they're back down towards Kitchen as they continue this site rotation, just like they did the last time. If they win it here, they're more than likely going towards double bar.
Yeah, possible 5-0 lead on on the cards here for Empire now, and not looking like there's going to be much to stop that. Of course, like Sam had mentioned, the pause did come in 2 rounds back, so we were hoping for some stylistic changes for the Soniqs. It seemed like they just tried to focus more on the outright objective push, but due to the blunders that were made in trying to knock out that reinforcement next to Cool Vibes there, be allowing it to be impact trick twice, possibly 3 times in a row, bleeding out all those Selmas. Soniqs just did not have the angles they needed to properly swing their way in, had to throw players into the fire, and it went pretty much as you would expect in that type of a situation, with Empire once again culling most of the roster before they could even get close to the site.
It's impossible in the current moment for the Soniqs. The kill department just not really doing much, as it's been down to Rexon, but most of this has been on exits, as we saw inside of that last round there. He was able to secure 2, but finally Soniqs get something here, a positive boon, as they'll take down Scyther on the top floor. This is their second opening blood here that they'll discover inside of round 5. But now Joystick already prepared to try and fight back here. Yeti's back on the line, as yes, you guys did indeed hear that EE1D locking things up for just a little bit. So we'll see if Soniqs can possibly utilize this to help them out with these gunfights going forward, as Empire still trying to work most of the map, but obviously down on the main level this time around.
Those Adrenal Surges obviously helping out Soniqs to a pretty good degree here too, as well. Yes, a few of their players took damage due to those early fights being taken mainly against Scyther. They can immediately reboost that back up with these Adrenal Surges. Super's going to be a little bit too low, so they're probably going to leave him at low HP for a few reasons. One, he's not expected to be a huge impact fragger at any points. They probably, no offense, probably don't necessarily want to waste the Adrenal Surges on him in the event someone else gets lit up to half HP. But of course, we'll see how that plays out as we get later into the round.
You're so funny. Either way, Empire down 1 man here, as they'll be holding on to this bottom space. Shepard looking for a little bit extra here inside of the Sunrise area. Not able to find too much as of right now. Does have a man right outside inside of Mudroom. We begin breaking up this penthouse space, and the nitro cell out from Dan as Kansan walks over a landmine that he did not know was inside of that area. Already got a lot done inside of VIP as well, so if Soniqs is able to reconvene and take control of that once again here, they'll more than likely be able to utilize that as they look towards a plant here in the last minute.
Second Adrenal Surge is going to come back up, putting Super in a better position here and boosting up the rest of the players. No sign of any serious push coming in for the Soniqs to help follow behind that, however. Just, I think, a few players entering in upstairs here towards the theater and penthouse area. Maybe they're a little worried about a fight transpiring there, so that could explain why we see that secondary one go off. Always, of course, still ready for the challenge outside of security, and Shepard on the losing end so far of a battle for Sunrise. He's going to start to slowly back away from this one, as they do have to be careful about losing too many players here. Lots of pressure coming in from so many different places on the Soniqs end right now, so this may be a little hard to get a hold of for Empire, but Dan comes in, a great assist as he takes down Yeti, but immediate exchanges are found by both Grixer as well as Rexon, and Grixer carries it forward even more. This split play is perfect for the Soniqs as they overwhelm the entirety of the Empire roster by spreading out their own and shut down finally a defensive round here, giving them an attacking pickup.
It takes Kitchen in order to get it done, but finally it will happen. The Soniqs get their very first round off of the back of Grixer's triple kill. Took them a little while, but finally able to hit their stride, hopefully here, as they're looking for their second round on the offensive side. Empire giving up quite a few bodies as they had to routinely challenge out of the site and try and hold on to control around the downstairs space, but Soniqs able to win out the fights time and time again. And they'll be happy with that one going forward, as, well, they've proven that the Russian machine can bleed, so hopefully they can continue on this warpath.
Empire's still going to feel confident about the way this half has been playing out already, with 4 rounds in the pocket, even if we see the complete rebound for the Soniqs here and they find a second. A 4-2 defensive scoreline is still very, very respectable given the attacker-sided nature that this map generally brings to the table. So Soniqs will have their work cut out for them regardless if that last round was the sign of the turnaround or not here. Empire, though, still going to try and lock things down, and if we can negotiate a 5-1, they'll feel even better about their current position, moving over to the attacking side on the upcoming round here. Setup's going to look pretty much identical too. No huge changes coming in for our defensive players. The same extensions and overall theme coming in for them here as they try to negotiate that 5th and final round on this half.
Well, now for Empire, they'll be awaiting Soniqs' arrival as they've finally been let out the gates. But as John said, really nothing too different in what their overall strategy is going to be. They'll still have the impacts inside of Sunrise to be able to assist with this hard breach utility from Super. We'll have to see if the Soniqs try and reapply themselves in a different way. And this has actually already started. Kansan is in upstairs, and this is what you love to see. This is what we didn't see inside of their last double bar take. You want to see them take this top control and start to apply pressure to these members. Empire will be able to, well, actually be discovered, as always, just sprints down White away from the EE1D's presence, but obviously it's going to ping him out due to that. He'll get down towards security and hold on to this for a time. Joystick's going to get lit up from that 417 of Yeti as he starts to chase him down, but doesn't challenge down Vibes. He's just looking to hold out this stairwell and make sure that Kansan is safe in the current location that he is. That verticality starting to challenge back, as well as Joystick will toss a Nitro Cell to the sky, but it won't be able to find its mark.
It's an interesting change-up for their overall strategy. We saw how things flipped on the Hookah attack, where they tried to play it from off positions and kind of swarm into the site from so many different places. That didn't work the first time around, so on the second run, they went for a direct play in from the balcony. Now this time, they're doing the opposite of that, where on the first attempt back on round number 3, they went for the direct play in from pool door, and now they're trying to play the extension up on top to flush out all the members of Empire that might have been playing in this site and eventually harass from this cool vibe stairs position to get downstairs, and only late in the round will they use that pool door or the Sunrise window play.
Joystick going for the challenge now, and he'll find it. Yeti a little too close to the sun here when it comes to Vibes. A grenade out now for Kansan as he tries to refrag in a literal sense. Won't be able to find too much, though, as there's a disc there. Only get rid of the Banshee as Joystick continues to challenge. A minute remains here for the Soniqs, and a lot to do now as Empire's looking to go up 5-1 on this half, but obviously the Soniqs cannot allow that to happen. No impacts coming out from Shepard this time around, as Super will be able to secure the Towels wall here and make it a little bit easier for them to get in towards a plant. Joystick worried that someone is going to swing off of that hole that's now been made inside of the Hookah wall, but fortunately, nobody home, especially for the Soniqs, as they'll be able to use this verticality to take down Joystick. He rotates back into sight. They found their frag, but there's only 30 seconds remaining.
Soniqs oftentimes the comeback story, and they're looking to make it happen here with the second round in the end of the first half. Grixer and Rexen working together here to rip apart the roster of Empire as they're down to only 2, possibly 1 in a second, as Grixer gets himself another one, and one more on top of that, because why the heck not? The harassment from him is enough to negotiate control over Sunrise, and with that, we will see the Soniqs pick up a second round here.
Fantastic from the Soniqs. They desperately needed this after the 4-round run from Empire. Soniqs bounce back, and they're able to pick up 2 big rounds here. Kansan, especially with the amount of verticality that was able to influence the site over with inside of that round, definitely a big deal when it came down to it, as they were able to not only find a few frags, but also get some serious damage off onto these Empire members. A great fight from Empire, though, especially around the Vibe space, as they continually held on, but obviously it did not work out in the end. We'll be switching sides now in between these two, as Empire will move on over to offense, and arguably the better side here on Coastline, but we'll have to see. Maybe we've just got a defensive Coastline on our hands, but this round will definitely be the tail of the tape.
We talked about it a few times in some of our previous casts about how a lot of these maps have been flipping on the normal expectations because of the nade meta and some of the interesting additional change-ups that we've been seeing a lot of teams bring to the table at this event. That's been causing our maps to be a little topsy-turvy from what we normally expect them to be, and this one could certainly be no exception if the Soniqs look for a quick rebound here. They're going to start things out in kitchen, though, and they'll be bringing a very similar setup to what we also saw from Empire on their own kitchen setups. Aruni will be in play, of course, to try and blockade out some of these more direct access points and force the utility to be dumped in a bit. Of course, we'll have the Wamai assisting with that, as Super will pick that up, but the big key operator pick once again is going to be the Oryx on Grixer that will enable that free roaming capability away from the 2 usual staircases, and of course allow him a few additional options to possibly get behind this execute from Empire.
Well, Soniqs will be holding on to the most of the map here. Grixer will be on Oryx, opening up these hatches to make his transitions just a little bit easier. Also has that bailiff secondary, be able to break up some rotations and things along those lines. So I'll have proximity sensors for some extra insight onto where Empire will be clearing things from, and a possibility of a frag coming from those as well if the info is that influential. Empire now out and onto the map, and they're already beginning to clear out this top floor, but that's going to be Joystick's Gemini actually working its way in and making sure that there's no one inside of this theater space, as that's quite important to the overarching story of this site. They'll clear out not only theater and penthouse, but also the main 90 hallway, so we should be seeing Empire take control of this for a time very soon. Grix are the top frag right now for the Soniqs, along with Rexon right on his coattails at 7-3. They're looking to try and shut this down, hopefully early here for Grixer's sake, as he is over inside of billiards. Drone ahead of joystick here for White Stairs as well, as they will grab a hold of this end of the map.
It's going to be all quiet here on the front. Neither Soniqs nor Empire are going to be able to meet each other inside of the first half of the round. Empire, for the most part, just spending all this time droning things out, but always opening up quite a bit of the VIP room, possibly spotting out a member down below there. I believe a small amount of damage is actually done to Grixer in the process of using that skeleton key to open it back up, but Grixer now going to get himself into a powerful position to try and fire back against these players, and immediately we will see Always scurry away to rejoin with some of his teammates. Joystick will cause a trigger there on the motion sensor. I don't really know yet. Looks like they are going to be able to hear that from far enough away. Thought we might have been just a little bit too far, but not necessarily the case, so we'll have to be cautious of that. This Joystick has been revealed, and he's going to have second thoughts about making a push over towards Aqua as he falls back to maybe descend down the main stairs. Empire are quickly running out of time here with less than a minute left now.
Not much time for Empire, and the Soniqs have been able to hold off for a time. Always now with the cross here from DJ. He'll be holding on to VIP, but they haven't been able to secure a frag down low just yet. And as soon as I say that, Joystick will take down Kansan. Joystick now holding the cross here as well. Not able to secure the kill onto Grixer, but so much damage shot back and forth in between these two. Empire now looking for the site instead. Dan holding on to things in lobby, but Yeti will shut him down. Leans out into Shepard's frag as well here. Empire starting to look for some space to put this plant down. They'll be able to clear things out, at least on this end of the site, but not before Grixer's able to take down Scyther. Super needing to hit some shots here, won't be able to take down Shepard, as it'll be a triple for him on the round. He sets the plan up. Grixer possibly with a stop here if he's able to find it, and he will. They know he's inside of the lobby space, and that's going to be the round as he waits to the dying moments. It's impossible for Empire to pick up the case, and the Soniqs win out their first defense.
That's a big clutch from Rexon, and unfortunately the laser gates being the siren call to the end of the round. Their Empire not having enough utility to brute force their way past that, so they use drones. They use anything they can to force their way into the site, and Shepard nearly gets it done, but with such little time. They also don't have enough to be able to establish Overwatch for that plant, so it's a simple waltz up from the last man alive on the Soniqs to shut down that plant attempt and negotiate their own third round here. One behind the Empire players, as they've made a run themselves with 3 consecutive rounds in a row, obviously totaling up the last 2 from the previous half as well. Soniqs are coming back, just like we've seen plenty of times this tournament. It was looking very one-sided for Empire at the start of this game, but now that Soniqs have warmed up, we've got ourselves a true competitive match.
Well, it's a slugfest, it seems, my friend, as we start things off for the Soniqs' second defense here. We're headed towards Penthouse to see if they can hold on for a second time. The mirror will work its way in from Grixer as well, so some black mirrors to influence these spaces. One for theater as well as one for the 90 hallway to look in towards VIP. This should work out for them pretty dang well. Jaeger and Omai to be able to protect some of those Goyo shields on top of that, and the mute jammers to hold on to some walls and make things a little bit more complex for this Empire squad. As for them, they've got a lot of answers inside of their lineup, let me tell you, especially with the 4 frag grenades coming in, and on top of that, plenty of soft destruction, especially coming out from Always here. They'll be able to influence these mirrors from down low, obviously all except for the 90 window mirror, because there is no soft destruction underneath that.
Yep, so just going to be standing up on top of the luggage there to add a little bit of extra safety while checking out these cams. We'll continue to maintain that position for a few seconds here as Empire start to establish their own initial positions. We can see one player on the front side repel that might potentially contend against not only Yeti's spot by luggage, but a few of the players inside of the theater room also, should we start to see them try to swing out from the double reinforcement they've made. But the nades are going to start flooding in from below, and the good news for the Soniqs is that they are not going to be directly up against either one of those walls. They're playing a little bit further back, so the nades will not meet a strong connection here. No damage done, and that utility largely wasted by Empire. Thankfully, one more still available. I believe they'll have a few additional past that also. Yes, indeed. Joystick also carrying a 2-pack of those nades. So there is hope in the future here to knock out this upstairs exchange from the Soniqs.
Rexon will be holding onto the mirror for a time, but Kansan loses his life on a cross from Joystick here. Just not really aware that the player is on the double window for Penthouse in the current moment, and Joystick hitting his shots today for sure. Looking to see what he can possibly get rid of inside of the site. Doesn't want to swing in just yet because he doesn't really have the assistance needed in order to do so. Empire looking in towards Guitar and VIP as of right now to see if they can work that space. And does the nade get him? Bounces out towards Rexon's location, but obviously no damage coming in onto him. Looking to see if they can possibly smoke out this window. Rexon will hold the cross on the other side instead and see if he can possibly gather anything. It's a drone out as the Twitch. Does he actually get the mirror? I don't believe he does. That's smoke obviously making things a little bit complicated for the Twitch drone there. So we're just about down to our last minute. Some serious marks coming into this as Super will go down inside of the site towards the for the yellow ping from Dan. Grixer trying to hold on now. Solo dolo here inside of Theater.
Grixer gonna see if he can maybe negotiate. Oh, Super back up, but before he does that, a quick little headshot against Dan. Nicely found. They are gonna spot that Super got retrieved here, so they'll try to crunch on that, but Yeti is fending things off at luggage side. Beautiful hold here from the Soniqs, and Empire still fighting tooth and nail to try to push their way into it, as now Rexon tears two more players to shreds here. Joystick sneaking in the back end, though. He's gonna make this a winnable clutch, especially with 30 seconds left, and he'll just get it done. Nicely done from Joystick, as Empire finally responds, picking up their first round on the attack.
An insane clutch from Joystick as Sonic seemingly having everything they could have possibly have wanted in order to win that round, but the ARX does so much damage to the Theater players and makes it a pretty easy clutch. Very straightforward for Joystick as he simply walks in and claims that last life. It's a 5-3 lead now for Empire as they get their very first round on attack.
So it's back over to a Hookah play yet again to finish off the Soniqs rotation, as once more, unfortunately, they fall behind, restoring the balance to the same point that we were at during our halftime marker at 4-2. However, of course, pushing Empire one round closer to ultimately closing down this map. Things will start to get tense here for the Soniqs as they can't trade rounds out like that for the rest of this half. Need to find some consistency yet again. Have to hope that things go their way to tie us up outright at 5-5 and then allow them to take the lead away here.
Yes, indeed. And Soniqs now pulling out all of the stops. We've got Super on the alibi of all things. Should be a pretty interesting one here. Big fan of this operator at the end of the day and what she provides to the team. Pretty cheeky utility when it comes down to it. The Prisma's not only a fake clone of yourself as this op, but also an info tool. And especially with Empire and the way that they like to pre-fire things, as most offensive teams do, you can get some extra insight whenever they tag those Prismas up, as they ping you a couple of times whenever you do so. So we'll see if the Soniqs are able to use any of that insight. Back on towards the offensive squad here, as we'll have one of those inside of Theater to be able to assist Rexon inside of this location. He being currently 10-4, matching up with Grixer at 10-5, at least inside of the kill department. The rest of the team, hopefully, working their way in around these two members to be able to assist them and take it to Empire in these dying moments. Remember, no tag time out for the Soniqs at the current time. They cannot slow up this game any longer. They have to continue to fight through these rounds and hopefully make the adjustments there.
Rexon waiting for the swings to come in through Hall of Fame. He'll hold a pixel angle to try and catch the eager members from the Russian squad as they take their initial map control. But at the same time, a big swing out for the members of the Soniqs here. They'll be spread out quite thinly, so have to be cautious here if Empire is going to be able to isolate those positions and start to pick them apart, as trades will be few and far between during those circumstances for these early round holds. Rexon will lose one part of his additional hold here, as the Selma is going to work its way in and bleed out his wall, so he'll have to start thinking about a fallback sometime soon here, as Joystick also starts to open up options from down below by nading out that barbed wire next to Cool Vibes.
Empire taking control of lobby and clamber up white stairs. They know there's players around this space. Kansan gets dusted inside of 90. No secure just yet. A nade to do that as Rexon starting to take some heat. He's taking down Shepard. The nade from Dan will secure Kansan. Some shots in from behind the sledge as well as Joystick. Working this in a beautiful fashion here for Theater. They'll take down Rexon, and now it's on to the site players for the Soniqs. Grixer has a cross here as he plays things around the space here for billiards. He's going to make himself a new rotate so he can get in towards towards Hookah and try and assist his teammates, especially the Vase player as of right now. Where is Super in all of this? That's the real question. Super currently over near Vase will be able to take out the Gemini, so it'll give up the goods in a certain sense on his location, but obviously do still have a couple of different cards that they can play. A couple aces in the hole, if you will, especially for Grixer with this Nitro cell that could come up big here in the dying moments.
Scyther hoping for an adjustment from the Soniqs, but not going to get it. Everyone's locked into the site as we enter the last 30 seconds of the round, but that's no problem for Empire, as Dan's already been able to find one additional pickup here. Yeti, though, here's the barbed wire being sliced, but never mind. Scyther still takes him down anyway. Super has found the only other response so far in this round here, as he now pushes in to try and deny the plant, takes the duel successfully against the player inside of Aqua, and then takes out the planter too. Dan's now racing to get himself up on top. Super hops off the counter defuse, but Dan still wins the battle anyway. It's a close one, but it falls into the pockets of Empire as they move up onto map point for our first map.
Super this LAN has been at least good for one inside of these rounds where we can see him clutch up. Even some of the maps, him popping off as well. So very close to securing that as he actually had a triple inside of that round, but just could not get it done against the window player. That's such a hard fight, especially given his situation overall, but very well done at the end of the day. I mean, just look at these shots as he's able to take down the player inside of Aqua, but unfortunately enough for them, Empire up and on to match point as they look to close it out here on Coastline.
6 picks are out, and an interesting one for Empire here. Not totally unexpected, though, given the map we are playing into. We saw plenty of Lion play from Soniqs back in the last half. Dokkaebi is going to fulfill a very similar role, just more so in audio cues rather than visual ones, as we'll try to find out the positions of the Soniqs members. So look for an execute here. It's going to go back down to the kitchen. Good news for those of you that are watching at home that are fans of the Soniqs. If you weren't watching the earlier rounds, they closed this down the first time they played into it. So a possibility for them to be able to find a 4th round here is alive and well, especially with the setup being almost identical. Those laser gates blockaded off Empire into those last 30 seconds of the round and tripped them up to a big degree. They didn't have an appropriate amount of utility to be able to burn that out. They may have fixed that, though, with the switch to bring Dokkaebi into the fold. So we'll hold ourselves back and see how exactly Empire is going to look to get themselves in.
It's going to be a sunrise hold here for the Soniqs. They've extended out from the kitchen space, so hopefully this slows up Empire in a certain sense. But as you said, the Dokkaebi utility working its way in. This is going to assist them with clearing out the map pretty quickly whenever she does send in a phone call. You can always just jump on those drones if you do have them placed around the space and see exactly where the members of the defense are. And obviously past that, it's just a nuisance for the defense to deal with anyways. If you want to shut down the vibration of your phone early, well, you have to go through a full animation in order to do so. Otherwise, it's just on a timer and it'll turn itself off. Unfortunately enough, apparently none of the defenders have Do Not Disturb on their phones, so it really won't work out. Echo used to, but not anymore.
Helps to use the flashes too. That's more capability to kind of dump that into the Aruni gates as well as mitigate, once again, the Wamai discs that I believe have been brought in, and indeed they have. Super still sticking on that operator pick as we've gone back to a site he's played it on previously. Empire quickly clearing things out upstairs inside of Theater. Won't find any roaming members of the Soniqs roster here. It'll be easy clears for Joystick as he takes this for free, but as he looks to potentially descend back down, he'll have to be a bit more careful, and not just on the actual descent, but from behind him too. Grixer can line up a good angle through luggage against him and find that first kill. However, Joystick might be aware of this. He's going to go hunting. Oh no, he doesn't seem to assume that there's anyone in there. Motion sensor goes off, and that's the siren call for Grixer to swing out and shut down Joystick without a single bullet in response.
A scary moment there. I got to stay on your toes whenever you hear one of those. And Grixer swings out from Aqua in a situation where they had no info inside of this space. He's able to abuse that and find his frag. It's been the Rexon and Grixer show here for the Soniqs as they'll find an opening blood here for the 3rd time, only the 3rd time inside of this matchup so far. Empire has been running amok when it comes to these opening minutes. And now, speaking of which, those are gone. Empire now with some top control after Soniqs will drop off because of that opening kill, but will it be enough? With this much time, Empire will still be allowed to work a lot of this verticality, and they have always and Dan in order to do so.
Still only a minute remaining here for Empire. Time is going to start to be stressed, especially with the loss of Joystick. Trying to flush out a member of the Soniqs. They do have yellow pings as well to find that player, but no! Kansas is going to be able to grab one despite the massive amount of heat being sent against him. There are 3 players trying to isolate him. He's able to at least guarantee the 1-for-1. Super, not so much the case though, as Dan has a much easier time finishing him off and evening out the player count. Grixer with the lineup though, nearly is able to trade out back onto Dan, but can't finish him off. He survives with a sliver of HP, but never mind. Grixer finds that final bullet, takes him down. This is the, once again, massive boost you're going to get by bringing Oryx in because he can re-rotate back up through that hatchet office and add the extra harassment. Now the remaining members of Empire are trying to swing themselves back in through service, but they're suffering for the same issue. The Malusi's Banshees blocking them off. The laser gate slowing them down as well. They can't find positioning, and Rexen will finish things off here as yet another round is picked up by the North American squad.
A fantastic round there from the Soniqs, but specifically Grixer, he gets the initial frag upstairs, drops down through the aqua hatch, but then later reconvenes. He jumps back up to the hatch, the only op in the entire game that can do so.
On defense.
Is able to get some serious damage. So fantastic stuff from him as he continually deals damage to this Empire squad that they desperately need, as they will stave off the end of Coastline here just for the moment. Still 2 rounds to secure in order to push us to overtime.
Soniqs are going to exercise the full breadth of their defensive setup as they'll go to the 4th and final site they've yet to play, into the double bars. So let's hold our breath and see if this is going to yield results for them to still push for the comeback, as they need 2 more rounds straight to be able to trigger overtime and potentially still steal away. You guys can see it there at the middle top right side of your screen. Empire's own map pick. So they're currently favored here, 6-4 still. Only 1 round being needed on this attack to be able to claim it. Once again, a spider web of utility going to be deployed for the Soniqs. Will have the discs as well as the laser gates coming out. Grixer is now going to pick up the alibi, and Super will be playing possibly a very pivotal role inside of the site there if he plays it in the usual position we expect the Maestro and the Alda to go into by playing behind the Sunrise bar. We'll keep our eyes on him though and see if that's truly going to be the case when the round gets started.
Can the Soniqs continue on here? If anybody else throws their hat into the ring from this team, then we have definitely got a ball game on our hands, let me tell you. But for Empire, it has definitely been the team affair. Danon always trying to bring up the rear for Shepard and Joystick. Scyther has mostly been a utility player inside of this one, unfortunately enough, but has been able to secure some influential frags. But you could say the same for the Soniqs as well. Into the opening minute now, as we're about 20 seconds in here for Empire to begin breaking up this map, and well, not too big of an adjustment inside of their utility overall. We won't see the Dokkaebi working itself back in. We'll still keep the double soft breach when it comes to Dan and Always, as they'll look to try and influence this bottom floor possibly if they do get some solid information on the location of these Soniqs members. Specifically Yeti, very far off of sight in the moment, but Kitchen always a solid place to hold on to when you are playing double bar, as a lot of people like to try and rotate in through service or possibly the kitchen window, but things can get risky as well here. Yeti now worried about this verticality inside of the area. I don't know if it was his nitro cell that went off there or what, but either way, he'll have some verticality going into this space, as Joystick will use that Gemini to its fullest and clear out a laser gate for luggage.
So it's a minute into the round already, and we haven't seen really a whole lot from either team just yet. Obviously, the Soniqs don't necessarily need to do a whole lot from their starting positions, as they're just looking to bleed out the time, and if Empire doesn't bring any aggression to bear to force that out of them, well, they can continue to just sit there and really AFK their way into a win. Empire, though, is, of course, going to start forcing some moves out of our defenders here as we start to see Joystick specifically work his way into the billiards room and nearly loses his head in the process. Some Tracers following it through. He does spot the rotation back down through Cool Vibes, but is going to be unable to chase it. Wants to keep himself obscured here by not firing out any bullets and keeping a possibility of a surprise pick alive, but alas, no one will be seen as he reaches the bottom of the stairs.
Joystick in a pretty pivotal position at the moment, but Kansan, he can win this out. Disc out, but it's Super to go down. Can he get the refrag? Kansan, so much damage as Joystick hits the flick. He almost removes Kansan from this world as well. Rexen now trying to look for the refrag possibility, but oh, Yeti, please push the stairwell. It's so very close. Can he find it? Oh, he's right on the precipice to finding this kill, but he backs off. M590 in hand now, as he was so very close to taking this man down, but luckily enough, the Wamai disc also catching the frag grenade that was intended for him. And well, Soniqs also delaying so much time inside of this one. It's done in the last 30 seconds here as he begin to break up the floor even more, and Rexen also finding the kill onto Shepard. Kansan's still very low, so they could get that frag in a pretty timely manner, but on such low time with Grixer upstairs, this is starting to look more like a Soniqs round.
Nice pickup from Grixer, and even more going to be found as there's no longer any vertical support harassing against this plant. Dan finally picks up the exchange, but now only 2 stand alive here. Rexon and Kansan need to push right back in. Dan trades it again, but he's lost his planter. He needs to stick it, and there's no time left. Round number 5 is found off the back of Kansan's final kill there, and the Soniqs are only 1 away from triggering overtime after running a massive comeback.
North America, you better kiss Grixer. That's all I'm saying. This man is doing everything right now up against Empire. They simply cannot stop him from getting in behind, not only picking up some big frags, but also stopping the plant, basically stunting Empire's round here as the Soniqs are making a defensive stand.
Excellent stuff coming in from the Soniqs once again, inching closer and closer towards this overtime.
Well, now for the Soniqs here. We'll see exactly what they can get done. Grixer and Rexon, once again, this duo, truly insane in the moment, John. Let me tell you, 27 kills in between these two. That's some quick maths for you guys at home. Empire looking to close this out in regulation now as they're just not able to hold on to the map control like they want to because of these rotations happening. They're able to get it early and have some influential information coming through, but past the opening bloods at the current moment, there's really nothing that they can possibly do. As long as Grixer and Rexon are both alive, there's so much that the Soniqs still have at their disposal that they can toss at this Empire offense, and it'll continue to thwart them.
So Empire's still in the lead, but just barely now. This lead is a shell of its former self, with the Soniqs truly rebounding and giving us a show on this defensive half. Mira is going to be seen in their defensive lineup this time also, which will certainly boost their capabilities off-site in addition to in-site. I believe we are going to see both of those mirrors utilized interior to the site, but let's get a better vision on that, and then we'll talk more about it once we can see. Actually, no, they're going to hold this a little bit more aggressively as they'll leave the VIP wall soft and allow that to be played into. This is the expected one that we are going to see, though, played out directly next to the interior hookah doorway. That will allow them to swing out into that one and punish any early pushes we might get from Empire through that main access point.
Not exactly a mirror setup that you expect to see too often, but one that Soniqs will be bringing can definitely help them with some insight in towards the actual hookah space. Rexon will break up the wall here and see what's going on inside of Penthouse. They'll hold on to this for a time. Grenade out to get rid of the castle barricade so they can establish a cross here for VIP hallway. Frag out underneath the positioning here at the back end of theater as well, and Rexon very fortunate that he is not at the back end of that space, as he'll be up and on towards the actual theater door, towards Penthouse, playing on top of this mute jammer, more than likely aware that they could possibly be bringing Doke again, so if he plays close to those, then obviously the phone call won't come in onto his location. Kansan now with the impact, so will continually hold on to these mirrors, but actually no, it won't get the Selma charge, and now that mirror, impossible to play.
Kansan losing access to his mirror window, still has a slight window to try and peek into, and he'll be able to negate the first frag grenade that comes in, and oh, bold from Kansan. He's got like about half the wall still up and running here, so he's gonna try to sit behind that one. Problem is, if he moves an inch in the wrong direction, his side or his leg or something will poke out, and that could potentially mean the end of him here if he's not being too cautious. Rexon now denies a second Gemini drone as it tries to work its way forward there, and yeah, Kansan finally gonna get burnt out from that forward position here, not from a nade either. Those bullets I was talking about bleeding him down to about 30% of his HP as he has to fall back and away from that one. Rexon, though, finally striking true to the interior of the theater by taking down Joystick and picking up the first kill of this round. He'll look to see if he can get more than that, as they are truly slowing down the play from Empire, which shows no signs of changing up anytime soon here as we move into the last minute of play.
Empire not able to be forceful enough onto these players, but finally Rexon to go down. Kansan still in this location. The stun won't blind him out. He's looking for the kill here inside of the VIP space, but this theater player about to pick him up. He will achieve it, and no, Scyther shuts down too. It's a triple kill for him on the round as he looks out towards white. Grixer now trying to make some hauls to try and get something done here, establish some new lines of sight so they can try and slow down Empire, and it's a 2 versus 4 here as they try and stave off this round.
Bit of a slow build-up here for Empire, however, so still the chance for the clutch to come in. That's a bold peek from Super, but he keeps himself alive here, keeps the members of Empire inside of a cage, and now Grixer is going to be able to swing forward to take down Shepard. The numbers are palatable. A second one, now a third for Grixer as he's getting it done. Overtime is triggered as Super finds the last kill as well, and Grixer, deservedly so, pops off with a high five from his coach.
I love the energy from Joe Bro there. He didn't want to touch him just yet. He's like, all right,
I'm gonna let you vibe. I'm gonna let you vibe. All right, I'm coming in.
Immediate execution on that as well. He's just like, all right, and boom, high five. Fantastic stuff there from the Soniqs as they force us into OT. The duo from Super and Grix are able to shut it down as they wasted so much time of Empire's clock and just not able to get very much done when it came down to the actual execution. Everyone trying to push in through the VIP space, but just look at Grixer get into some work here with this Vector. And finally, the last,
which we see the members of Empire try to jump out into it one by one by one. They hand over the duels, never really able to establish a secondary angle through billiards or another avenue such as Cool Vibes. And because of that, they fall one by one, and the Soniqs bring yet another round back into their fold as we tie it up. Sonic complete the comeback and send us into overtime, where they will keep the defensive advantage as well. That's another big factor here. They're going to have two opportunities on this side, which obviously we've seen the large majority of our rounds won on so far for both teams. Empire will only have one on the next round.
Rexen and Grixer currently have the same amount of kills as 3 of the Empire members combined. That is truly insane. Shepard, Joystick, and Dan only able to equate to those 2 members of the Soniqs, as the Soniqs will be able to pick things up here on the defensive half, as they'll have 2 defensive rounds inside of overtime. Obviously, that means Empire will have 2 offensive rounds if we go the full breadth of OT. As soon as I say that, Empire out and about now on the map for the very first time here inside of overtime. More than likely wishing that they had the defensive side here, and more than likely wishing that they closed this out before we got to this point.
Empire now in charge, or rather have a lost charge, I should say, of the situation. It's Soniqs instead that now take charge of this entire map here, pushing themselves up at 6-6 and going to look to try and negotiate one more kitchen hold for themselves. Already a large utility dump coming in for Empire through the kitchen window, and drones to follow it up also as they try to figure out what exactly this type of setup is going to yield. There's been a new little wrinkle here for the Soniqs defense also. I don't believe we saw this on a previous attempt, as Yeti has now brought the Echo in, potentially to delay, and especially in the late round scenario, should they get pushed out of kitchen, which is a fairly common occurrence, he can maybe hide one of those yokais and surprise if there's a null time plant to straight up end the round with that utility usage, as we've often seen in past Siege, but I'll be honest, it's been a pretty long time since I've seen a yokai clutch.
Yeah, it has been, hasn't it? Usually people very aware that the yokai is in area, so we'll be able to find out Echo pretty early on, and especially since the yokais are no longer invisible, they're a little bit easier to deal with. Definitely still a nuisance, as we saw Oxygen especially utilizing this op very well, especially for the roaming capabilities of those yokai drones to find out some intel for the defense here, but we'll have to see how the Soniqs want to use this time around. Yeti's going to be on the yokais in the current moment, so do have the possibility of actually having some of that intel assisting them currently. Kansan with a heck of a shot here, and one that desperately needed for the score line, and for the Soniqs are already shutting down Empire early on here, if you can even say that, almost down to the last minute. Joystick and Dan already dusted here, and now it's down to the remaining 3 of Empire to try and find this offensive round.
Kansan's had kind of a quiet game here with 6-10, but personally I've noticed quite a few situations where he's been able to win some pivotal gunfights and at minimum waste time inside of the same positions where he's trying to win those there. So while yeah, it's been mixed results inside of his potential individual score, the actual contributions I think speak a little bit more strongly for him inside of this matchup here. So I'll be curious to see what our analysts have to think about that when we head back to the command center. As always, just can't get deep enough into that pocket there. Just was talking about how Kansan makes some great contributions, and just like that, he finds himself another nice pickup as Empire fall to only 2 players remaining.
A negative scoreline doesn't mean that much inside a competitive Siege, especially when your teammates are shooting like this. And for Kansan, a big round for him that could be the biggest one for him here on Coast. Already able to get 2 kills, as he'll be able to try and hold on to this space. He'll be naded out here as Scyther tries to take control. He'll get Echo droned as he tries to push forward. This sonar blast will mess with his vision just a little bit, but Shepard will get taken down. Grixer to tag on, and well, if you could hear things
getting loud
in this space right now, let me tell you, the Soniqs with the belting screams from across the entirety of this building. Let me tell you, it's quite large. They're about 100 yards away from us at the current moment, and we can still hear them. The Soniqs take the lead here for the very first time on Coastline.
Starting down from a 2-4 deficit at the beginning of the second half, Soniqs have now brought it back, and not only that, hold the lead at 7-6 over Empire. On top of that, they'll return to Hookah, which was a successful site attack for them back in the previous half, where we saw Empire on their own defensive side here. So Empire is going to have to hope that they can course correct in their own regard here, as if not, that'll be a massive win for the Soniqs, taking not only the first map of this series, but of course, Empire's own map pick, as we get ready to head over to Clubhouse for map number 2.
This has been such a scrappy game in between these two, especially for the Soniqs' sake. The opening kills have mostly been going towards the Empire side, and time again, the Soniqs are able to fend them off, fight back, especially from the defensive side of things, and force us up and on to this point, even doing it again inside of that last round. This has been fantastic here from them. Obviously, some of the opening bloods having some heavy influence here, as they've been able to pick those up at a decent rate, but obviously not up against what Empire was able to control inside of a lot of those openings for the rounds. But either way, an opening kill doesn't win you the game, as, well, look at this scoreline. The Soniqs 7-6 in the current moment, as they're looking to take control here and take the map at an 8-6 fashion on their side. And, well, we're going to have a big change up here. One that we saw Oxygen use extremely well inside of their series on Coastline. The Osa working back in. We'll see if those Osa shields can possibly assist them with an Aqua plan, as Kansan will set things up on the far side here for Office. Begins breaking up the wall, and oh, he's able to find Scyther, who rotates in towards the sunroom, towards security, and that's going to be the opening blood yet again for Kansan back-to-back.
They're hot pinged in the process of walking through Office as well, so really bold for him to still go for the straight up dash across to try and work his way into the lower luggage hallway there. Loses his life as a result of that mistake, and once again sets up the Soniqs for an easy closeout here if they're able to leverage enough site control to get into their execute. Now at a 5v4, they can basically trade their way to a win here if they establish proper positioning. Joystick, though, still downstairs, going to try and shake things up a bit, like, again, we saw on the previous rounds here. A potential hop out is alive and well for him. He's not the only one downstairs either. Dan is providing overwatch for a blue bar / office swing. Should they try to move in and take out Joystick from that position? So lots being committed here, but again, the Soniqs have had plenty of time to drone this out and have probably realized that the actual site setup is going to look quite weak, and if not, they're certainly going to be realizing it right now, as their drones are very much in play. They'll also realize, however, that the cutoff is still established quite nicely by Empire over at the top of main stairs, and that's going to cause some serious issues here as they try to establish their own positioning closer to the site.
Aqua Balcony, usually a dangerous place to try and drone, but obviously Rexon, he's a completely different character, as he'll be able to set that shield down in front of him and safely drone out the Aqua area. Joystick now rotating in towards security. Kansan with the possibility to have yet another frag coming his way, but it'll definitely be a challenge as Joystick starts to propel himself forward down low. Rexon's starting to set things up upstairs, as he's already got a shield set up for luggage. Has one in his pocket still as well, and a bulletproof here to be able to read out the situation inside of the space. He cannot cross and get that in the current moment either, as he'll more than likely be killed in the process due to the footholes at the bottom of the billiards wall. Joystick resurge back upstairs, doesn't want to try and go for that rotation down low like we saw before that could have possibly have led him into Kansan. Instead, back up and onto site here to try and help defend in the last 40 seconds.
Empire continue to bait out this time, which they've been doing quite well. To give them huge credit, a huge mistake made by Scyther at the beginning of the round, but ever since then, they've kept everyone alive, and more importantly, have kept the Soniqs way outside of the play box here, as now the Soniqs are going to try to flood their way in, and Dan obliges to that, tries to swing in against 4 different members of this attacking roster. The plant attempting to go down always, cannot find a clean cutoff. He's going to get it now, but only one to be picked up there. Grixer takes down a player in sight, swings in to kill the other one in the hallway, and then knocks out the last player in the site as well. Beautifully done by him, as he's the hero for this team, bringing them back from the brink, pushing them into overtime, and now stealing the first map right out of Empire's hands. The final score of 8-6.
Such an insane series.